Thing to remember about these ETF inflows, not just the surge we've seen recently, but since the beginning, because it's been an absolutely phenomenally performing ETF. And this is a very important point that's overlooked. This is being done with the asset managers not allowing their salespeople, their financial advisors, to recommend it. So that's extraordinary. That's like a shoe salesman not being able to recommend Nike, right? So that's going to change at some point. And I'll sort of leave it to your viewers to determine what happens when that thundering herd of brokers can actually pick up the phone and recommend this ETF.
Welcome back to the channel. Aaron here from the Bitcoin Bros. And as you just saw in that clip, asset managers aren't even selling the Bitcoin ETFs yet. But checking out BlackRock here, they have over 1,100 ETFs out there that they sell. And the Bitcoin ETF they has $64 billion of inflows in just 16 months. And according to that clip, they haven't even been selling it yet. And they're BlackRock's 9th biggest ETF holding as of right now. So that is huge. That means we may see this Bitcoin ETF continue to climb the ranks and potentially even flip BlackRock's S&P 500 ETF. Now that would be huge to see. So we're getting into strategy, Bitcoin, a lot of updates from companies buying Bitcoin in today's video. And let's go ahead and start off here. We're going to be looking at Coinbase. Coinbase is going to be joining the S&P 500. This is a big moment for Bitcoin, a big moment for crypto. This is the first Bitcoin or crypto company to join the S&P 500. And on this news, Coinbase jumped around 20% in a single day just with them joining the S&P 500. So think about what this could do for strategy when they finally get included in the S&P 500. The reason this happens is because they're going to get allocated funds from the S&P ETF, and they'll be able to use those funds for business purposes. In strategy's case, once they get included in the S&P 500, they're definitely going to be using that to buy Bitcoin. Now, one thing to note is strategy is currently rated number 88 in the top market cap companies in the United States. If we look at where Coinbase is, we can see Coinbase is down here at 160. With them joining the S&P 500, you can see they climbed 33 spots there. So strategy is still a bigger company versus Coinbase. $61 billion market cap for Coinbase versus for strategy, we're looking at around a $111 billion market cap company. And the only reason why strategy hasn't been included in the S&P 500 yet is because of their earnings calls. Eventually, once Bitcoin goes up enough, strategy will show more profit. That will be the last thing they need to get included in the S&P 500. Once that happens, you can see they'll have a big jump like Coinbase had, and strategy will use all those new funds to then buy more Bitcoin. So that's a big catalyst that we have to look out for. The end of Q2 could be when strategy finally gets included in the S&P 500. Obviously, it's coming because they are a bigger company than Coinbase. But let's go ahead and get into some Bitcoin news. We can see here, Mercado Libre has held 412 Bitcoin since Q1 2021. In Q1 2025, they bought an additional 157 Bitcoin for 16 million. Now they have a total of 570 Bitcoin. So just another company putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet here. We have Bitfupu. They hold 1,908 Bitcoin, up 61 Bitcoin from last month. This is a Bitcoin miner. So with some of the Bitcoin that they're mining, they're putting it into their strategic reserve. You can see they hold over 1,900 Bitcoin now. We have Latin America's largest e-commerce company, Mercado Libre, just bought 400 more Bitcoin. The Amazon of Latin America is stacking Bitcoin. Another company buying Bitcoin there. Then we have Galaxy Digital. They're holding around 12,830 Bitcoin. Definitely good to see there from Galaxy Digital. And then you have Virtue Financial. They disclosed 235 Bitcoin as of March 31st, 2025. New addition to the top 80 Bitcoin treasury companies. So that is just another big company that's buying Bitcoin here. This is really getting out of control. It's hard to track all of these companies that are actually buying Bitcoin and putting it on the balance sheet. And then we have GD Culture Group to sell up to 300 million shares to buy Bitcoin. And they're actually going to be buying Bitcoin, not crypto here, so you can kind of ignore the and crypto. GD Culture Group will be buying Bitcoin. We have David Bailey's holding company, Nakamoto. They're going to be raising $710 million to announce a merger with Kindly MD to launch a public Bitcoin treasury strategy. So they're going to be taking that $710 million. They're going to be using that to buy Bitcoin. All of these companies right now that are buying Bitcoin, it's getting hard to keep track of all these different companies. It's new companies almost every single week. And it does seem like the digital gold rush for Bitcoin has started. Saylor talked about this last year, and now we're finally starting to see it happen. And I think as the year goes on, we're going to start to see more and more companies adopt a Bitcoin treasury strategy. And we have a clip at the end from David Bailey talking about Nakamoto and where he sees it going in the future and how he thinks Nakamoto could actually hold more Bitcoin than strategy. That is their goal. So I'll put that clip at the end. Stay tuned for that. And then we have Monochrome Bitcoin ETF. This is the Bitcoin ETF in Australia. They're continuing to stack more Bitcoin over there. As you can see right now, Australian dollars under management that went into Bitcoin is around 66 million, and they hold 403 Bitcoin as of May 12th. And then we have publicly listed Next Technology disclosing buying 5,000 Bitcoin for 180 million. They now hold 5,833 Bitcoin worth $600 million. So with all of this corporate Bitcoin adoption, you can see just from the beginning of the year, the Bitcoin corporate purchases is 196,207 Bitcoin versus the Bitcoin supply that has been coming out every single day, 450 every day, has been 60,000 since the beginning of the year. So want to do some quick math here. If we do 450 times 365, this would be the amount of Bitcoin that's going to be released for the entire year, which is going to be 164,000. Now you compare that number to what the corporations have already bought this year at 196,000. The corporations have already bought all the Bitcoin that will be mined for the entire year of 2025. That is huge. We're not even halfway through the year and they've already bought the entire supply. So you can see Bitcoin is really becoming deflationary with all these buys. And this is not even taking into account all of the miners that are holding their Bitcoin. Marathon Digital, all the different mining companies that we show you in these videos. A lot of these companies aren't selling all their Bitcoin. They're putting it in a strategic reserve for the future. So you can see that the 450 a day is not actually 450 a day because the miners are holding their Bitcoin. So it just goes to show you there's going to be a supply crunch in the future. And at some point, Bitcoin's price is probably just going to continue to skyrocket. We may get a huge short squeeze or supply shock in the Bitcoin price because all this buying is just not sustainable. You can do the easy numbers to see how much the exchanges have in Bitcoin versus how much is being bought. The numbers are not sustainable. And then you have the halvings coming up every 4 years, which cuts the Bitcoin supply in half. The numbers are not sustainable. Bitcoin's price will probably continue to go up forever. Obviously not financial advice, just our opinion on this channel. And if you guys have been watching for any time, we're probably just preaching to the choir there. But I want to go ahead and play this clip for you guys. I appreciate you watching all the way to the end. Like, subscribe, new videos, new interviews coming out every single day. We live stream on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern. So make sure to check that out as well. Let's go ahead and check out this clip here from David Bailey's Nakamoto.
But having a mainstream moment right now. It is truly becoming a mainstream asset in the capital markets. And I want to say thank you to Michael Saylor for pioneering that effort, but we are wanting to take it to the next level. So, flattery is the best form of compliment. So, we are MicroStrategy squared. What we are trying to do is build a portfolio of Bitcoin treasury companies in capital markets globally. We want to have one vehicle that investors can buy in every major capital market. So we've already done deals in Japan, Hong Kong, but we're looking at new opportunities in Brazil, in Saudi Arabia, in UAE, in Turkey. If investors are excited about bringing Bitcoin to each of these capital markets and being a gateway for investors, We want to make Nakamoto the mothership where they can get access to these opportunities by being a shareholder of Nakamoto.